So check this out. This is another edible portion of our yucca, and these are seasonal. This is what a lot of people call the yucca asparagus. It's going to go ahead and continue to grow and grow and grow, sometimes upwards of 4 foot tall. And it just kind of looks like an alien pod. And at the end of that, in about a week or two, it's going to blossom out and bloom and make a giant flower. And if you go ahead and click the link above, that is the video where I show you how to eat those, because extremely edible, very delicious. But depending on what stage you find these guys in, if you've got a lot of these, we're coming out of winter time, sometimes people are hungry, maybe you're in a survival situation, this thing is food. All right, it is a proto flower right now, but we're gonna go ahead and fry this up. You can bake it in a ground oven, whatever you gotta do to be able to unlock some of the carbohydrates. Let's go ahead and chop this off right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and fry it up, show you what this is all about. But very versatile plant. More videos just like this one to come. And be careful, these guys will pierce you pretty bad. I'm gonna go ahead and push down, and it cuts right through. If you're having problems cutting through it, it's probably been too long or it started to dry out. You wanna go ahead and get these things early on. But the idea is that this blossom or this stalk coming up, this is all spongy material. It's a little fibrous, but you can see the moisture in there. All right, and as we bake that, it hasn't hardened up. It hadn't become wood just yet. This is all edible, all the way up through here. So this is your yucca asparagus. If it had continued to grow, it would have made the giant yucca flowers. And I'm not worried, because I've got hundreds of these across the property, and they come out every year. But again, gonna go ahead and fry them up, cook them up, check out the yucca. This one's almost blooming, but we're gonna go ahead and harvest it. And it's much larger. So kind of get in here, be careful. You don't want to injure this plant, because again, it's coming every year. And this is a yearly crop. So there you go. And I'm lifting about 10-12 pounds right here. So this is, again, your yucca spear. But all that good flesh in there, starting to harden up a little bit, but still quite tender. And let's cook it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and fry this up. I've got my Dutch oven over here. I'm put a little bit of butter. You can use lard, you can use fat, grease, anything you got. A lot of people will actually bake these in the ground, or rather they used to, historically. I really like to saute most of my food if I have the option. If you're in a survival situation, cook it up however you can, but understand an earth oven is going to cost you a lot of calories. So whatever you can do to go ahead and put the burn on this, open up a few more of the calories, that's what you're going to want to do. I've got 2 of these. I'm going to go ahead and cut up a little bit of each one and show you what's inside and how I go about preparing this. There's really no wrong way, as long as it's edible at the end. So I'm going to use a large Bowie knife, and you can use whatever you got. My Leatherman would work as well, but bigger knives usually better for larger things. I'm going to go from the tip back, as if you realize that this is the growing point of this plant, it's going to be the most tender, and you're going to get the most calories out of this side. And I'm going to kind of just slice it like I would maybe a squash or an eggplant. So taking the tip off, just like that. And those are effectively the blooms, blossoms. And again, if you haven't seen the other video, I eat the blossoms, I eat the blooms, and they taste like artichoke leaves, maybe a little bit more bitter. Slice another one off. And slice another one off. Now, these are all blossoms right here, and they're going to cook up really beautifully. Also, the other thing I want to go ahead and mention is that I waited a couple extra weeks, but before these blossoms have developed and this stalk is coming up, and it really looks like an asparagus at that time, this right here, the stalk itself that solidifies and becomes bigger and harder, that is edible. So before you even find blooms, you should find this. It's very spongy. It hasn't really made any of the tough stuff yet, so still palpable. And you can go ahead and cook that and eat that as well. So it depends on your need. If you're really needing calories right now, right then, maybe if you have just a ton of these plants and you're not too worried about it, which is my case, you can cook these plants all the way through their blooming stages. Once the blooms really get large though, you're not going to want to touch them too much because they're going to get bitter. So get them while they're young if you can. Another seasonal treat. I'm going to take these, and what I've done is that inside of my Dutch oven, again, I put butter in there. And I put it over close to the fireplace so that it melts just a little bit. But at this time, we'll go ahead and just load a few things in there. No worries, I'll show you the inside of this in just a moment. But throw them in. This is all food. If you just happen to see some bugs or something come out of it, because this is a bloom, you won't have as much problem with them until they really start to make nectar though, with having the insects. But you always want to try and get those out unless you just really want the protein. That's that. I'm going to go ahead and eat the rest of these a little bit later. I want to show you this magnificent plant, and it's a little further on. Now if you pick these and you walk with them for a while, a couple hours out in the sun, they're going to go ahead and blossom out. Once it's cut, once the water gets shut off to these plants, they're going to go through the development as fast as they can, if they can. But again, depending on the conditions, you can get some magnificent plants and a lot of food out of this. But that's almost 3 foot of edible. Up here on the front, and it's my guess that most people don't realize just how much food is in here. But this is dense. Incredibly dense. And that's all edible. Now, some of this you could probably go ahead and eat raw. I'm going to encourage people to cook them up as much as possible. But you notice I'm not worried about wasting too much of this. You need to go ahead and cook it the day that you pick it as much as possible with your fruits and vegetables. You don't want them to go bad, especially in a survival situation. So, all edible. I'm going to go ahead and saute up these as well. Put them in the pot. And the great thing about these plants is that in a lot of survival situations, you're picking a bug out here, you're taking a small onion away from here, you're finding a berry here and there. When it comes to yuccas, and if you hit the right time of year, you're not starving. You're going to go to bed full. You can eat this all day long. And I'm not even eating half this thing right here. And I have probably about 200 of them, 200 of these plants on the property right now. So that's what it looks like. We're going to go ahead and put the sear on it a little bit, put it over the fire. I've got a few coals going, and we'll show you what this is all about in just a moment. All right, so now we're cooking. I'll try and brown it up over the next 5-10 minutes. And this is my preferred method. I know I'm going to catch a lot of hate for using our Dutch ovens here, but if you have the ability to use a Dutch oven, go ahead and do so. In a survival situation, whatever you can do to go ahead and get a little bit of fire on this and break open some of the carbohydrates and some of the sugars and access those important calories, do so. But preferably, if you're a prepper or you're in an area where you can kind of find some metal to do something like this, this is what I would do. I'm going to go ahead and post a couple more videos here in about a year when the cycle comes out, the blooms come out once more, and show you some of the more primitive means of cooking these guys, because they really are an incredible food source that a lot of people pass up. So, then eat your weeds. This will take about 5-10 more minutes. I want to get some brown on here. I want it to caramelize a little bit. You notice that none of it's actually going and sticking to the pan, which is real nice. Season your cast iron, take care of your cast iron. But it's starting to look good. So it's browned up pretty well. This has been cooking for almost 15 minutes. I do have a couple pieces in here that are the stalk. I'm going to leave those in to cook just a little bit longer. But I've snuck a couple tastes, a couple bites here and there, and it's exciting. This stuff is awesome. People don't imagine, but with the lard and cooking this thing up, the bitterness has been replaced with sweetness, and it's really tasting like kind of a sweet broccoli, artichoke, kind of a Brussels sprout taste, which is really pleasant. So check that out. That's about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds worth of food right there. And most of the calories have been unlocked by the cooking process. And quite literally, I'm not emphasizing, or rather, not pulling your chain, but this stuff tastes amazing. I could eat this with a steak. This is just as good as sauteed squash, boiled cabbage with the butter. Put a little bit more salt on it. These little blossoms, these proto blossoms. The bitterness is completely replaced with the sweetness. And it's very rich aroma. Even having eaten lunch already, I would eat the rest of this stuff and probably make myself sick if I didn't have more self-control. If you're in a survival situation and you've just cooked this up, you're going to scarf it down. Readily available calories. It tastes amazing. Eat your weeds, guys. We'll have some more videos on yuccas here after a while. There's a lot more uses for them other than just consuming them. So I encourage y'all to propagate those across your property. If you're a prepper, or if you're just a survivalist out here in an area that you find a lot of these succulents, know what they are, use them, enjoy them. Right. Until next time, guys, like and subscribe. Yucca Blossom. I forgot about the stalk. So, there's a portion of that asparagus tower that came up. Amazing texture. Sweetness. It tastes like cauliflower with sugar on it. Maybe a broccoli stem or artichoke hearts. Artichoke hearts. Eat this stuff, guys. That was a good one. Bye again.